Welcome back to Almaz, where architecture meets vision. Today, we invite you to explore a unique residential design concept nestled within a pinewood valley, far from the noise of urban repetition. This house is a new architectural narrative, bold, restrained, and unapologetically modern. It's called the Veiled Black Residence, and while it echoes certain visual philosophies of the celebrated Black House in Sant Cugat, this home stands firmly in its own creative identity. Designed with the intent to preserve structure but reinvent meaning, the project reveals how powerful visual coherence can be when volume, light, and skin are choreographed into a silent harmony. The house is situated on a gently sloped terrain, bordered by tall pine trees and wild underbrush. The land dictated the geometry, encouraging a linear floor plan that bends softly with the contours of the site. Nature is not merely a backdrop, it becomes an active participant in the dwelling experience. Views are filtered by dense verticals, sounds are muffled by mossy grounds, and breezes are channeled through natural corridors. The architects resisted the urge to impose on the landscape. Instead, they listened. The design outcome is an architectural response to seclusion, silence, and the slow rhythm of nature's presence. At the heart of the Veiled Black Residence lies a simple but radical decision to cloak the entire exterior in shades of deep matte black, not as an aesthetic gimmick, but as a medium to deepen the contrast between built form and surrounding forest. The building appears almost like a silhouette at dawn, minimal, mysterious, and quietly intense. Monochrome unifies all elements, walls, frames, roofs, into a single visual mass. Yet within that uniformity lies depth. Shadow play, material textures, and subtle geometry shifts give the black more than one face. It doesn't shout for attention, it absorbs it, then gives it back slowly. Rather than a sealed surface, the facade operates as a breathable architectural skin. Slender black slats, spaced irregularly, hover over the main volume, functioning as a double facade. This creates pockets of shadow and air and gives the house an evolving character throughout the day. Light slips between the slats in thin, golden blades during sunrise, while by dusk, the entire structure seems to melt into the forest. This outer layer also adds thermal moderation and acoustic buffering, without compromising the minimalist language. It becomes less of a wall and more of a veil, thin, protective, and strangely emotive. Though the home spans only one level in height, it expresses itself vertically. The lathing system extends well above the actual roofline in places, giving the illusion of soaring facades. These vertical extensions break the horizon, mimicking tree trunks and pulling the eye upward. Inside, the same strategy continues, with ceiling panels of varied height and clear-story openings that funnel daylight into the core of the home. This vertical emphasis provides a spiritual lift, turning even a moment in the corridor into something contemplative. It's architecture that breathes not just outward, but upward, like branches seeking sky. The windows and doors are not carved into the structure, they are revealed by design. Each opening is framed by thick, angular steel portals that extend outward, both sheltering the glass and emphasizing its presence. These protrusions act like spatial punctuation, drawing the eye to the view beyond. Whether it's the forest floor, a patch of sky, or the reflection of moving clouds, the frames elevate each scene into a composition. Some of these apertures serve as seats, others as thresholds, and some simply as light catchers. They turn light, wind, and shadow into architectural ingredients. Despite the dramatic exterior, the interior invites a quieter warmth. The palette remains restrained: charcoal woods, soft gray textiles, and brushed steel, but the spatial feel is gentle and comforting. Walls are strategically left bare, letting texture speak over decoration. Light is diffused, bouncing off matte surfaces and filtered through screen partitions. The layout is open yet intimate, with rooms bleeding into one another through wide, thresholdless transitions. There are no harsh corners here, only soft shifts, reminding visitors that minimalism doesn't mean sterility, and that black can be just as comforting as white. Light in the veiled black residence is not an afterthought, it is a design material. The house is orchestrated around the sun's movement, with apertures placed to welcome light where it's least expected. In the early morning, light pierces the eastern facade, dancing through the lathing in geometric patterns. Midday brings muted reflections, while sunset reveals the home's textures in golden hues. At night, concealed lighting transforms the slatted veil into a glowing perimeter, turning the house into a lantern among trees. It's a choreography of contrast, where shadow defines shape and darkness becomes a canvas. The idea of capillarity, where architecture draws in and releases energy through fine channels, is central to this design. The double skin allows air to move freely, reducing mechanical dependence. Courtyards punctuate the linear floor plan, inviting pockets of vegetation and natural light deep into the home. These cutouts not only ventilate the structure, but provide spaces of reflection and pause. The building doesn't stand apart from nature, it drinks from it. Each wall, each frame, even each void becomes part of a breathing organism. This is not just shelter, it's a home that's alive in rhythm with its environment. Though rooted in minimalism, the home is anything but simple. It's layered visually, spatially, and emotionally. Each decision, from the monochrome exterior to the delicate slats and curated openings, speaks of restraint used masterfully. There are no decorative gestures here, only essential ones. The blackness of the house doesn't symbolize emptiness, it embodies focus. It draws attention not to itself, but to everything around it. The sway of a branch, the call of a bird, the glow of dusk. It stands as a living monument to thoughtful design, proving that silence, when well composed, can be the most powerful expression. In the end, the Veiled Black residence is not just a house. It's a quiet rebellion against trend-based design and visual clutter. It challenges what residential architecture can be when guided by concept rather than compromise. It reminds us that sometimes, keeping the shape but changing the soul is more transformative than starting from scratch. Here, black is not a statement, it is a language. And in this forested context, it speaks fluently. Thank you for joining Almaz in exploring this architectural journey. Subscribe for more curated design stories where simplicity meets significance.